My name is Victor, and today I will make a presentation related to autonomous technologies. And the aim of this presentation is to explore the potential of autonomous technologies for achieving sustainable Gulf of Finland. So first I will present some information about Aalto University, and then I will go quite quickly to save some time, and we'll present some projects we have worked at Aalto with respect to autonomous shipping. And then I will present the result of SWOT analysis, which is connected to the use of different autonomous technologies. So Aalto University has a small group which is focusing on research related to marine engineering and technologies. We have different study paths, and our group is quite small comparing to the other groups on international level, but we are quite active. And we are currently the only group from Finland, which is included into Shanghai ranking, and we are considered to belong to the best 50 universities on this topic. Now, coming to more in connection to the topic of the presentation, as you might know, the autonomous shipping is becoming a more tangible reality, and during the last week, we heard that finally Yara Birkeland will be fully operational, and this will be a first example of a fully unmanned vessel which will be used for commercial purposes. We are also seeing a number of other projects which focus on ro-ro ferries, container ships, inland waterway vessels, and we are somehow anticipating a breakthrough in these areas quite soon. And a number of countries are working in connection to autonomous shipping, and Finland is just one of them. Now, the development of autonomous technology is expected to have some benefits, as it will contribute to reduced operational costs, because we will be having no longer crew to pay. We also expect to have reduced CO2 emissions, improved safety, increased job accessibility, because we will move some number of jobs from shore to the sea, to the shore, and it will also open potential for new markets. Now, coming to the project that we have been working at Aalto University. So one of this project is Alivesi. In Alivesi, we have investigated the use of autonomous technologies for an unmanned city ferry, and we have investigated different aspects related to safety and environmentally friendliness of this potential alternative solutions. In Automare, which is an on-running project, we are focusing on research which is conducted currently on a global level, but we mostly consider what sort of amendments we need in order to train next generation maritime experts. And here in this project are practically all the Finnish universities which are involved in the maritime education one or another way are participating. And the aim is to identify what sort of autonomous technologies we have or might have, and how to educate the next generation seafarers and marine designers. In ECA Maris, we are developing some specific, more technical solutions. This is being implemented in cooperation with a number of other partners. And we are investigating different concepts like relocated bridge, conditionally periodically less manned bridge, and conditionally and periodically unmanned bridge. In C4Value, we are investigating how we can increase the digitalization and how we can use it to develop new services. And specifically, we focus on remote pilotage, which is one of the services. The financing in this project is offered by the Business of Finland, and we investigate different concepts related to intelligent ferry and remote pilotage. Now, how does this connect to all the discussions that we have heard today in various presentations? For that purpose, we have used a SWOT technique, which is quite good technique for preliminary decision making and which is quite efficient for initial planning. And using SWOT techniques, we have considered and brainstormed what sort of autonomous technologies can be used in order to solve the problem related to environmental pollution and greenhouse emissions and so on. The results that we provide in the next slide are of a preliminary nature, and it doesn't mean that these are concluding findings. They're based mainly on brainstorming that has been implemented here at Aalto. So the first idea is idea quite similar to Yara Birkeland, which is a ship which is operating now outside the coast of Norway. So essentially, we investigated the potential of using unmanned cargo ship between Tallinn and Helsinki, which is one of the routes in the Gulf of Finland. And some of the strength of that solution would be the reduced operational cost, obviously, and improved safety due to the use of automation, resilience in the supply chain, since we will not rely on the crew for operations, but only on the systems. And this can be a completely novel design, and by redesigning the vessel, we can reduce the resistances and we can have much less CO2 emissions through better energy efficiency. And this could be potentially coupled with autonomous ports and trucks in the future if they're developed, and this will increase the operability of such supply system. And obviously, this can be used also for other shipping routes in the Gulf of Finland. But what we could see is that some of the propulsion systems that are in use and which are eco-friendly, like batteries, might not be enough. So the problem is the battery capacity, and that's why we can have operation using batteries only in near coast areas. We don't have any ocean-going vessel which is using batteries. And there might be some need for infrastructure update. But the main concern that we have is that it might be not financially stable. Yes, it's technically feasible, or with some, after overcoming some barriers, we might reach a solution which is operating, but it might be not very strong in terms of financial performance. Now, another potential for use of autonomous technology is the use of small urban ferries, which are automated. This is similar to different other projects which have existed. One of them is Alivesi, where we have worked, and another one is Emilian Bear, which is currently being implemented in Norway. And by redesigning the vessel again, we can reduce the emissions, and we can also improve safety. But of course, the threats that we are facing here are mostly related to safety, because we need to demonstrate a very strong safety case. And yeah, we can also have some issues with the battery capacity, but here it's more feasible to use batteries than in the previous case. So that's definitely an option that can be considered to reduce the CO2 emissions in the ports. And this sort of solution can be applied in the Helsinki area, but it also can apply it in St. Petersburg and yeah, maybe in other cities which have some sort of urban ferries. The third idea is more practical and directly related to what has been presented, and it could be potential. It would worth investigating the use of a small autonomous vessel, which would be collecting the floating garbage on surface in the area of St. Petersburg, Helsinki, and Tallinn. This idea has been already tested in some other countries, and it has very small safety implication. It's also quite simple and straightforward for use. But of course, the main challenge is that the developers in the local area cannot use the solution because there might be some IP issues. So the idea is already protected by some patents. The fourth idea is also related to what has been previously presented. We already have seen in just in the previous presentation that some autonomous technologies are used for monitoring purposes, but these are some alternative solutions which could be also used to monitor the environmental KPIs in the area of Gulf of Finland. So we could have used different drones, and drones have been suggested for use to monitor compliance with SOx emissions. But also we could use drones for sampling the water and to see if we have eutrophism or other problems. The advantage of that solution is that we can deploy this system indefinitely in some period of years. So for instance, in summer, we can have such vessel constantly in operation because there's sunlight and we can charge the batteries using the solar panels. These solutions are also not threatening the safety of navigation, and these solutions also can increase the frequency of sampling in the different areas. So just coming to the last slide, the autonomous ships and technology are becoming more and more tangible reality. And we as Aalto have some experience in connection to autonomous ship development and projects. In connection to the Gulf of Finland sustainability, the autonomous technologies could be used to promote and support the development of novel and greener supply chains. We could also use autonomous technologies to reduce the operational costs. And we could also use the autonomous technology in order to clean and also to mitigate some environmental hazards like microplastic floating on the sea. And we could also use the autonomous technology for better monitoring activities. This is all from my side. I would like to thank you all for your attention, and I'm very glad. I'm open to hear any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Victor. Really very interesting talk. It looks fantastic, but nowadays technologies are more and more real, even fantastic technologies. So I just can imagine how the huge scientific vessel is exploring constantly some areas like Russian Arctic, for example, yes, and sending us more and more data every day. It's a dream. But, questions? Then maybe I have one. Do you have any information about the legislation? Is it possible in national or international level right now, or some perspectives of such laws?
Well, in connection to the international operation of unmanned vessel, I think that's something quite challenging for the moment being. So the projection is to develop some regulation at IMO level by 2030 or so. So it's gonna delay, unfortunately. But on national level, there is much more freedom. So, and I think that national authorities are quite open to the use of autonomous technologies, and they can grant permission for operation of such vessels, provided that there is a demonstration of sufficient safety. So essentially, if you do some risk assessment, if you follow some procedure and demonstrate that you have taken safety into account quite seriously, I think that's possible.
Thank you. So let's meet in 2030 and check. Thank you again. Very interesting talk. Thank you.
Thank you.